Hello guys, and welcome back to another video. Today you join me on the Hunstrete complex on the Bathampton Angling Association. I've been a member for the past 3 or 4 years now, and you would have seen me regularly fish Newton Park on the ticket. But I've decided to give Hunstrete a go. It's on their main lake, so there's 3 lakes here. You've got Main Lake, Withy and Bridge. I decided to give Main Lake a go just because it's got the bigger fish. Even though it's a lower stock, and many anglers I've spoken to go 10, 15, 20 day session blanks. It's only a day session water, so no nights, but I have been told that the water does fish well going into dusk, so I'll probably stay until it starts to get dark really, to maximise my chances. And the stock in here is quite low, but the average is apparently well into the £20 mark, and they go up to £40 with a good head of 30s, so it's going to be a good water to try and get the first 30 pounder, so I think I'll be fishing it quite regularly. Anyway, I've got both rods already out on the spot. I'm already set up. My left rod, I've got about 2 or 3 rod lengths off of my left hand margin. There's an overhanging tree. I've got about a rod length off of that. And then my second rod, it's only a 2 rod maximum limit. My second rod I've got out in mid water. Both rods went down with a nice firm dunk, so I know they're fishing on clear spots. Got a few scatterings of boilies around, so hopefully that'll do the business. I'll go through my rigs and my tactics later, but for now I'm going to make myself a brew and hopefully we get a bit of action. Right, so it's just coming up to about 12:30. Thought about the time I run you through my setup and tactics for today's session. Both rods I'm fishing exactly the same. I'm using the Corda Dark Matter leader, helicopter and chod rig leader, in the £30 version. And all I've done to that is take off the rig ring swivel that comes on it and put on the QC ring swivel, just to allow me to change the rigs a lot more efficiently if I need to. It sort of minimises the time wasted doing that. And then both rods are on IQD rigs. My right hand rod, which I've got out towards mid water, is on half a core pop up and half a core bottom bait, and then on the left hand rod I've got that on the core wafter. Both baits that I know work well anywhere I've been, so I thought I'd stick with what I know. IQD rig, safe, I've caught a lot of fish on it before, so I thought I'd stick with that. It's not overly silty out there, so a critically balanced bottom bait is just going to flutter down, and like I say, the bottom's quite clear as well, so perfect presentation for the IQD rig. I've put a bit of bait out. The seagulls literally destroy any bait that goes out, so I've put 3 or 4 catapult pouches through on both rods to see if that sort of might help, but like I say, the seagulls, as soon as you get the catapult out, they absolutely home in on it, so there is a bit of bait out. I'm confident quite a lot went out, but yeah, I'm going to stick the kettle on and have enough cup of tea, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll get a fish at some point through the afternoon. Right, so it's just coming up to 4 o'clock, and I thought I'd give you a little bit of an update on how the session's gone so far. As you can probably tell, no fish, very little in terms of movement as well. I've only seen 1 fish move, and that's out in front of a chap that's fishing down by the bailiff hut. Quite a big fish as well, shoulders and all came out, and a massive boil on the surface erupted. So it was definitely a big fish that came out. But apart from that, it's been quite quiet. 2 more anglers have turned up in the last couple of hours, and they're fishing dead opposite me. No fish has come out around the lake. I can see this only has 4 fish in no bites either. I've recasted both rods an hour or so ago just to freshen up the bait and top the swims up with a bit more bait as well. Let's say probably I've only got till 7 o'clock until the gates lock, so I'm probably going to give it till about 6. It starts to get dark now around 6. So hopefully within the next couple of hours we can get a fish. That brings us to the end of today's session, guys. Unfortunately no fish, but I sort of learnt a bit about the lake. Is turned about 5 o'clock. There was about 4 or 5 upper anglers that turned up, and the lake just started to come alive. There was fish boshing all over the top and moving out in open water. So I think next time I'm going to plan to stay a bit longer up until the maximum I can. I think that's going to be my best chance of a bite by the looks of it. All the regulars seem to know when to come. If they're coming just for the last 2 hours of light, then that's a sure sign that the fish come out going into dusk. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe to the video, and I'll catch you next time. Well, good morning ladies and gents, and it's a couple of weeks on since my last session, which you would have previously saw. I'm back again at Hunstrete Main Lake. I arrived here at 9 o'clock this morning. It's now about 10:30, so I've got all the rods set up in on their spots. I've decided to go in a swim just here by the bailiff's hut. There's 4 or 5 upper anglers on sort of around the lake, mainly stay in this in this area as it's the deeper water. The temperature's dropped quite considerably again. This morning I had to defrost the car and it was reading 1 degree, so a very cold night. I've got both rods on similar tactics. I've got the helicopter set up on both rods. The left hand rod I've got on an IQD rig again with the bottom bait half pop up, and then on my right hand rod I've gone for a Ronnie rig this time with a full on core pop up. Just because there's a lot more leaf litter sort of floating on the surface, so I imagine there's a lot of it sunk onto the bottom of the lake bed. So I just want to make sure that my presentation's on point. Really, if I do get a chance, it's a hard water like I've said before. Very little amount of fish come out really. I've just spoke to the bailiff and he said there's been 1 out in the last week, so chances are few and far between. Anyway, without further ado, let's get fishing. It's just coming up to 3 o'clock, guys, and I thought I'd just give you a bit of an update. My left hand rod I've brought in, I've just changed the bait on that. It looks like everyone's fishing boilies out here, so I thought I've brought along some Pepper Army with me, and what I've done is pop that on the IQD rig topped with a little core pop up just to give it a bit of buoyancy so it's still sort of sitting above the hook. Just something a little bit different to try, see if that might encourage a bite, something smelly, something to bring the fish down. To investigate. Hopefully we can nick a bite doing that. I forgot to mention where sort of the spots I'm fishing today. I've literally got them about 30 yards from the bank, literally out into open water. As I said, I'm on the end of the lake by the bailiff's hut and the toilet just behind me, so I can see the whole lake, and there hasn't really been much movement, just a few pike splashing in the margins, and the odd bubble coming up here and there. but nothing really to go at really, so I'm just trying to see if I can nick a bite. Fingers crossed we might be into a fish at some point during the evening. Right, so it's just coming up to 5:45 now, and I would say we've probably only got about 20 minutes until it's dark. I've just had a look at the rules and just confirmed with the bailiff, and actually the lake doesn't close till 9:30 at the moment. It'll start closing from 6 o'clock as of this weekend when the clocks go back, so I think I'm going to give it until darkness. I've literally just seen 3 fish move within about 10 minutes of each other. I've seen one out on my right hand spot, so I brought in my right hand rod, rechanged the bait, put on a pineapple and butyric fluoro yellow pop up, and I've just cast that to the showing fish. And then on my left hand spot I've just seen 2 fish sort of bosh, so I'm leaving that one there, and it's looking good for a bite at the minute. Whether that'll happen is yet to be seen, but I think this is going to be the last vlog entry for tonight as it is getting dark, so if I do get anything I might put it on the action camera. Hopefully that'll pick it up, but fingers crossed we'll get one before it gets dark. Well, good morning guys, and you join me about 30 minutes into my third session here on Hunstrete Main Lake. As you can probably tell, yesterday resulted in another blank. About 8:30 the temperature really started to drop off, so I knocked it on the head. But speaking to the bailiff this morning, nothing else came out around the lake. I'm here in peg 30, decided to give it a go sort of about midway up the lake. I got here, like I say, about an hour ago now. I gave a walk round for about 3/4 of an hour or so. Didn't really spot any signs of activity, but what I can say is that there's a really cold wind blowing down into the deeper water, and I didn't think that the fish would be down there, if I'm honest. Like I say, the depths don't really vary too much, it's just an extra foot, 2 foot deeper in the deeper end. But so I decided to come sort of on the back of the wind, as it's still quite warm up here and it's quite sheltered, so I would imagine if there are any fish sort of moving about, they'd be sort of nearer this end. I've got both rods already out on their spots, done a quick bit of leading about, found 2 spots. I've got my right hand rod on a bottom bait rig, on just a simple blowback rig, on a core boilie topped with a little bit of white pop up, and then on my left hand rod I've got that on a Ronnie rig with a bubblegum pink pop up 14mm soaked in some of the Corda goo, so I think that's the bumbleberry flavour. So I've got those rods out. I'm not going to put any bait out. Like I say, I don't really think the carp are really feeding, so I'm just going to persist with them. Like I've gone with visual baits, something that they can sort of spot and home in on, and hopefully that'll nick us a bite today. So fingers crossed, we'll be into a fish, third time lucky. Just coming up to 2:30. In the past hour or so it's been on and off raining, and I've literally, just as the weather's cleared up, I've literally just seen my first signs of fish, and fortunately they're right in the swim that I'm in. To the right hand margin there's been 3 or 4 patches of bubbles, proper feeding activity going on, and then literally just before I've done this, a fish just literally topped on the spot. So what I've done, I've wound in my right hand rod that I just underarm flicked about 20 yards from the bank, and I've popped exactly the same rig, exactly the same bait, just put enough a bit of PVA foam nugget on just to make sure that that's not catching any debris on the bottom, and just popped that about no more than 15 yards in my right hand margin, so fingers crossed that might provide a fish. So just drinking the last cup of tea of the session. It's about 20 minutes of being dark. You probably can't tell on this camera, but the light is fading rapidly. I'm not staying into dark tonight, I've got some other things to do at home. But the last hour or so, it looked like I was going to get a bite, if I'm honest. I mean, there was 3 or 4 showing fish, which I've spent the last hour chucking my left hand rod to it, the one with the fluoro pink pop up, and I was sure it was going to go, but unfortunately not. But thank you very much for watching this video and seeing my sort of journey over the last 3 sessions on this lake. I think that's what I'm going to do from in the future if I return here, is film a couple of sessions at a time and then edit them and upload them like that, because I think the action is going to be few and far between, but hopefully we can catch one of the gems that swim in this lake. But thank you very much. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. It's very much appreciated. Until the next time, I'll catch you later.